So welcome to South Asian Overground.
Thank you very much.
Season 2. So you are Rav from Panjabi Hit Squad.
Thank you very much.
You know who you are, but I'm buzzing. I'm so buzzing that you're here. Like since you got here, I've been trying to just be like, just be cool, save the energy for the podcast. But I was so excited to get you on the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You are here without your other half.
Yeah. So as it is winter season, everyone's getting ill. So man down for the moment.
Man down.
Man down. So one pan has to step up.
D is not here, but to give you a little insight into who Panjabi Hit Squad are, if you don't know, which is ridiculous if you don't, because you definitely should. You guys are DJs, producers, a collective, and you produce a lot of Bhangra, street music. Yeah. Have I got that? Have I killed that completely? No. And obviously radio hosts as well.
Yeah. So broadcasters, I think, is up there with all of it.
With all of it.
Yeah. But a wide range of things that Panjabi Hits will do.
I love it. So I want to start by asking you this question that I ask everyone on the podcast, which is kind of, I think, more relevant than ever at the moment, because the question is, so where are you from? Mm-hmm. Before you answer it, I just want to talk about the thing that came out in the news recently. Obviously, by the time people listen to this may have been a few months ago or whatever. Mm-hmm. But a lady called Ngozi Fulani, who went to Buckingham Palace, she is a domestic abuse charity boss, and there was a close friend of the Queen's that said something like a multitude of things, one of which was, where are you from, which part of Africa, when did you first come here? Well, she's actually a British national. Her parents came here in the 50s. She's of African descent. And like Riz Ahmed and Adil Ray have like spoken out about this on Instagram. Adil Ray did a hilarious Citizen Khan sketch. Obviously, he's a genius. And then Riz Ahmed did his where are you from kind of spoken word thing. I think it was on Big Nasty's show.
Right. Yeah.
I'm guessing you've like seen about this and stuff.
I have seen it. And you know what? It's strange that we're still living in a world where this question keeps on coming up.
Yeah.
You know. But also. And this is not in defense, is that, you're speaking to a lady who's elderly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think if you're in a position that she's in and you're around the people that she is, you'd have probably had some people around her telling her that this is probably the way to do it,
Yeah.
I guess there's no excuse for ignorance. So
yeah.
I guess, very, very weird situation. I think you can ask somebody where you might be from if you're interested, maybe somebody's background or something like. But maybe to put it out there, like, no, where are you really from?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's where it gets a little bit grey area, and touching of hair, and that's invading somebody's space. Which
did that happen?
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah, I think there was like and I know I've seen many stories of black women saying that people just come up to them and touch their hair.
That's crazy.
But also I know of a lot of Sikh people with turbans. Who actually have the same experiences, where, they ask what is underneath the turban, why are you keeping your beard and all these things. And I guess, we need to, as a society, just step up the game, start understanding people's backgrounds a little bit more, because we're living in a world now that that we're going to meet and interact in such a way that you need to understand that. You need to understand, culturally, religiously, what is a yes and what is a no. But I guess people's personal space, I think that's a definite
definitely. And I think it also is about how you ask and in what way you're asking. Like, are you asking because you're genuinely interested, or you're asking because you're just assuming because of someone's skin color and how their hair is that must be where they're from?
I mean, I think she did the right thing and gave up her position straight away. So there wasn't like a delay. But then the reports that came afterwards were like, she's an elderly lady, she might be hard of hearing and things like that. But I guess all those things again, shouldn't really excuse that.
No, exactly. So going back to that main question then, where are you from?
From West London, Southall. Born and grew up there. And of course parents are Kenyan, Punjabi heritage. So I've got quite a lot of different cultures coming through, some from India, some from East Africa, and of course, coming and living and growing up in Southall, those collide.
Yeah, 100%. Would you say that's in that area that you grow up in, there's a huge amount of different cultures, different kinds of people, skin colors.
Yeah. There's everything. I mean, you know, I think that when I was growing up, you know, I used to see loads of my friends of, you know, brown, Pakistani, Punjabi, Hindu. You know, then you've got obviously, you know, black and white friends that were there as well. And then of course, like when, you know, towards the end of the the early 90s, Iraq War happened. So there was, you know, people coming from Iraq over, and then Somalia as well. So, you know, and Afghanistan then, you know, so, you know, Southall has this thing where, for a long time it was an Asian place where, you know, it was predominantly Asian, you know, so many different people there. And then it kind of got more diverse. So again, like I said, you had to start respecting people, but also I got to see how people just wouldn't respect it. You know, like, you know, you saw there was tension between certain sects of people, and you know, and of course, you know, Asians have their own problems going on.
That's what I was just thinking.
Going on. You know, now to add something else to the fire.
Mix.
So you know, you know, very proud of where I'm from. It's given me an education that I couldn't got anywhere else. You know, and you know, glad that we kind of took that experience and kind of applied it to the life that we live now, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And do you feel, obviously we've just kind of touched on this, but if someone was to ask you the question, like, Rav, where are you from? Do you find it offensive? I guess like people will make an assumption anyway because of the music you make, your presence on Instagram, you're on BBC Asian Network, so I suppose it's a bit different. But say without all of that, say someone didn't know any of that, do you find that question offensive?
I guess I'd have to look at the tone that they're saying it in. So, you know, I think that if a grandmother of 86 was asking me where I'm from, I might be a little bit relaxed in turning around and giving an answer and understanding that she might come from a time that basically there probably wasn't any brown people in her life or around her. So, you know, and also by the tone, is she interested again where I'm from? Because she might turn around. I've actually had this once before where somebody's asked that same question and they've asked me that, and you know, you've kind of gone, why are they asking me where I'm from? You know, you've asked me twice, but are you asking me because you're trying to be racist? But actually it turned out to be that basically their family lived in Punjab through the First World War at some point. So they're just kind of trying to figure out if there's anything there that they, you know, it's like a common ground. So I guess the tone is very, very important, you know, and I think that that's kind of the main part of it, you know.
I agree with you. And I've said this as well when I spoke about it on season 1 of the podcast, where it's not something I really thought about, and then I started hearing, especially when I heard like Riz Ahmed's piece, and then I started hearing other South Asians talking about it as I started to find my place, sort of thing, in within like the South Asian world. And what was the most alarming thing for me, I guess, I think people were trying to say it as a compliment, but they would say to me in the gym, "Oh wow, like you've got an amazing skin tone. Where are you from?" And it was in that tone. It was like a nice tone, and I was like, oh, well, actually, like, I'm half Indian, so that's probably why. But then I was thinking, that's a bit weird, actually.
I mean, it's probably not that. You just probably have a great skincare routine.
I do. Honestly, my skincare routine is on point.
So, you know, I think that's probably where we're from. But, you know, I think this is a conversation that needs to be had, actually, you know, and the world's changing so fast at the moment. You know, it's really, people have to level up very, very quickly, you know, because
I agree.
You get caught out very, very quickly as well.
You really do. Like you can't say anything now.
No, you can't. And I think that's also another problem, is that you can't. See, the problem is with opinion is that your opinion is one side, but you will have a lot of people that fight the other side of that opinion. And they will go in on you. And then, you know, you can sometimes become disheartened about maybe your own place. So that's the issue that you have, you know. I think it's okay to open up a healthy conversation about something and take it from there, you know, as long as there's nothing malice in it.
I agree with you.
You know,
definitely.
you can have a conversation, you know, as to your political stance, what you think about, you know, coal mines opening up. All these things that, you know, is based along different things. You know, some things are based along science, some things are based along politics, some things are based along religion. So all these things, you know, and I guess you have to respect other people's opinion, which is the main thing.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously people's opinions on things change all the time. Like I am going to make the most like maybe like first world, stupid example, but almond milk, right? Everyone was into almond milk. Everyone was like, no, nobody can have dairy, all these things. Now no one wants to give almond milk because apparently it's bad for the environment because the amount of water they use. So now it's oat and coconut. Now people are turning against oat.
Yep.
They're saying bad things about oat.
That's it.
What are we meant to do?
And in the day and age when you start saying bad things about different milk products, I think it's over.
It's over. Is it over?
You know, there's not really much else you can do.
So in terms of your South Asianness then, how connected to it do you feel like on the day to day?
I'm very, very connected to it. Also, I make a point of being connected to it.
Yeah.
You know, I was fortunate enough to grow up with my grandmother in the house, and because of that, you know, we had that whole culture around 24/7. Again, living in Southall, the culture's on the street. So when you'd walk out and, you know, you'd go down the Broadway, you'd hear, you know, the music, you'd see the people, you'd see the languages, you'd see the music, hear the music. All of these things would happen, you know, and then, you know, it'd be very easy to turn away from that. But then I was like, this is the bright lights for me. This is Hollywood, because, you know, at the same time, you know, 90s and 2000s, you had Gurinder Chadha, Bend It Like Beckham being made in Southall, and then, you know, you had Bali Sagoo, Punjabi MC, you had all of these great things happening. So, you know, for me, it was very, very important to keep on in touch with that. Plus, because of the music, I was so interested in that since from a young age that I want to be connected to it. You know, there wasn't a chance, or it wasn't a point where I wanted to disengage with that at any point whatsoever. I actually wanted to make sure that it got to a point where it could be appreciated and respected as any other art form and any other music there is out there.
So it's like an active choice to be connected to it.
Yeah.
And obviously, in the nature of your job, what you do, you're constantly connecting to it in different ways all the time and sharing that with other people as well.
I mean, it's very difficult to get away from that because the first word in our name is Panjabi.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I guess that's kind of the rule book. You know, when we look at what we're doing, you know, does it go back to that?
Yeah.
How do we relate it to that? And I think that's what's kind of kept us going for this long, because, you know, we try to make sure that we represent the culture, represent the music as well as possible. Yeah,
100%. And you guys have like just kept it relevant,
Yeah,
which we'll get onto in a bit. Yeah. But before we start going into like the music side of things, the final thing I wanted to ask you on kind of the, I don't know, South Asian section of the podcast is, if you had to pass on certain elements of your culture or heritage to other people, what would those elements be? Like if you had to pick like a few.
Ooh, the food.
Food, yeah.
Definitely one thing. I think just the food, the culture. You know, I think there's so much that is amazing about being Asian.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, and I meet people a lot of the time that don't want to be that. You know, they want to be something different, whether it's a case of that they've fallen out of love with you know, their heritage, or, you know, maybe it wasn't around them as much.
Yeah.
But then I meet a lot of people that are really, really going back into it now.
Yeah.
So with that, we have like this thing where, you know, they're now what we consider as being, that's outdated and old, you know, like people, you know, gorguppers or whatever it might be, you know. But, you know, Dee and I have always looked at it and been like, no, that's someone's experience now. So
100%.
So, you know, going back to your question, I think definitely the food is probably the main connection with it all. Yeah. You know, that's the one thing I'd
and I've a couple of things I want to say on this. First of all, I feel like I'm one of those people that's going back into it. Mm-hmm. So, what you're saying that you and Dee said of like something that you may think, oh, that's from ages ago, that's old, is someone's new experience of it now. Yeah. You know, even like when Bend It Like Beckham came back on TV, because it was like it was the anniversary a couple of months ago, and it was just like so many people were talking about it, and so many South Asians might not have even seen it. And for them, it was the first time experiencing something like that. And they're like, wow, this is sick. Yeah. Especially the Lioness has just won in the football.
Absolutely. I think it plays into it all. And you know, this is all hats off to Gurinder and Paul and everyone that worked in the film, is that, you know, they... And the thing is that with Gurinder, she comes from Southall as well.
Yeah.
So her her experiences come through into the film. You know, she's had that experiences actually with Body on the Beach and for other films she's made.
Yeah.
And Bend It Like Beckham, you know, she hit the nail on the head. That is actually, you know, in the 90s what it was probably like growing up as a female in a household, you know.
Yeah.
Playing football, you must be joking.
You must be kidding.
You're right.
And the best is when she goes and, what's her name, the lead character? I can't remember.
Pominda Nagra.
Oh yeah. So she when she chucks her like football bag like in the bush outside her house, and it just made me think of like the daytime. Like, I never went to daytime raves, but the daytime raves, and you know, going and the kids would have their like clothes in the bush for the daytime.
That was me.
Rave.
That was
you.
That was absolutely me.
Oh, to tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, daytimers, and this is the actual event. Daytimers, not the collective at the moment.
Yeah. To distinguish the two.
Yeah, because everyone's gonna be like, hold on, why are the daytimers? Young Sing's not chucking his bag in anywhere, but you know, but I think for me, going to a daytimer and the whole concept of a daytimer is absolutely fascinating. And you know, I've said this before, you know, in written articles and stuff, that understand that we had an ecosystem at an event that happened every single 6 weeks, and this is just in London. Yeah. This would be repeated across the country, but let's just say you had one every single 6 weeks, and this event would start at 12:30 and it would finish at 5:30.
Yeah. And
you would have 2,500 kids going to a club.
Yeah.
No alcohol.
No.
But going there for the music.
Yeah.
And that is crazy to me, because you couldn't do that now. But at the time, you know, I mean, I'm friends with the promoters now, and you know, and I'm like, how was the concept even brought up that, you know, you'd think that let me do a rave for you know, essentially teenagers, and you know, let's do it during the day. You know, to somebody as a business plan, they'll be like, no, we're definitely not taking that risk. Yeah. You know, and trying to convince a club to open up, you know, Zenith, which was at Park Royal, that is now a Pure Gym, that was a hotspot, you know, and the line would stretch around the corner. You know, there is video footage of that, and that's kind of where I got the bug from. You know, I wasn't old enough to go to the nighttime clubs. I tried to go to as many cultural events as you could. So, you know, whenever there were like your local leisure centre or whatever it is, you know, my mum and dad were really supportive as well of what I was doing. And I had cousins as well that, you know, when it was time to go to like see Jazzy B perform or something at the local community centre, you know, they'll take me along. So I get to see that. But, you know, it was really going to like these daytime events where I met friends, you know, and it was basically saying you're going to school, and then, you know, having to take another change of clothes in your bag, you know, and then like you'd get to like Zenith, or you'd get to like I remember we used to put my bag at my friend's house because his mum used to work at the airport, and she used to work at, I think, like from 2 to 11. Right. So what would happen is that we would just basically finish at like 2 o'clock. Yeah. And then go there, put our bags there, and then just basically hop on the bus and go there.
Go to the daytime rave.
Yeah, and it was our early chance to go and see, you know, drum and bass DJs, R&B DJs, acts, another level. Like, it's mad, you know, and I'm thankful for that time. Yeah. Because that kind of got me prepared for what came next. So.
Honestly, like, it's such an iconic thing that was happening. Yeah. And I had one lady on my podcast who was telling me about that she would go and sign into school and then bunk off school and then come back at 5 to like sign out of school, and she'd just been at a daytime rave the whole time. Yeah. And it's just brilliant. And it's because as well, a lot of South Asian kids weren't allowed to go out, like other kids weren't allowed to necessarily go to like parties and things like that. And obviously it's different for each person, everyone's experience is different, but that was kind of like the general consensus. Like, was that the case for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think my mum and dad weren't really, you know, they weren't telling me to not go out or anything. Yeah. And also it wasn't the same case, you know, with a lot of people around me. What it was just, you know, you're 14 years old, you know, you need to be at home for 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Yeah. You know, because, you know, the streets are unsafe. Yeah. So, you know, you need to be, you know, at that point at home or whatever it might be, you know. But to be honest, I'm pretty sure now thinking about it, my mum and dad probably knew I was there. Yeah, yeah. You know, but the amount of stories that you'd see, I'd see teachers turn up from schools outside these to find their kids.
No way.
Yeah, because because again, like, if you're expecting your kid to come home at 3:30 from finishing school, and they're not, and then your mum and dads were worried. There was a lot of it. I mean, it's probably a reason why that they probably stopped. Schools just got savvy to it and were just like, this needs to kind of get to. Like I said, there's a really great part to it, but there's also a really, really bad part to it.
Dodgy part, and I can't believe they were even allowed. But it's mad, but I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, I think that's what I take from it, that the actual impact it had on me and my life, and also around the music scene as well. Yeah. Bands were basically doing a daytime rave, and then they'll go and get something to eat, go and stay in a hotel for 2-3 hours, and then go and perform at night.
Which is what you do now,
right,
sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for it, because without it, maybe Panjabi Hit Squad would not have been here, and I would have been very unhappy about that.
Yeah.
So, well, that's a nice way to move on then into the main topic, I guess, which is music.
Yeah.
So how did you form Panjabi Hit Squad? Like, obviously the name comes from, well, where are you from? Yeah. But it's still good to know a little bit about that.
So the name came from one of our friends, Raj, who was a part of, we used to be called Asian DJ Culture.
Nice.
Which was our DJ market back in the day. And then what happened was that our friend Raj, who started all that, he decided he wanted to do a music album. And, he was friends with Panjabi MC, and, we all know everyone in the music scene anyway, so that's all fine. Unfortunately, he went to India to go and record vocals and go and get the instruments and everything done, and he passed away there.
Oh, okay.
So when leading up to this point, because he was so excited about putting this album together, he had found like a group of friends, which included like one of my cousins, Indy. He'd found a set of people that he really gelled with.
Yeah.
And I think with that, he was really excited that he was going to do something that was, in his mind, change the world, change his world.
Yeah.
So he was excited. So he would talk about this all day long, and then he came up. He met D and I once, and bearing in mind I'm really young at this point. I'm like 17, probably even 16 at this point. And then he's saying to us, you know what? My name is going to be. His name is Rajiv Kalyan. So he said, my name is going to be RK1, and then the album that I'm going to make is going to be called Panjabi Hit Squad, because I'm going to have all of the Punjabi superstars on one album.
Sick.
And this is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, cool, that sounds amazing.
Fantastic.
Right. Obviously he passed away. We ended up releasing the album that he brought back vocals for and everything, but under his RK1 name. And then maybe about 2 years later, D and I met up with Mark, and Mark was like, look, the album did really well, and obviously we're still doing well, doing club nights and everything like that, but there's something bubbling, and I think that between us three, we've got what it takes to kind of make sure that it gets relayed correctly.
Yeah.
Because at the time they were selling the Asian story, but not as it should be. And that is from our point of view, not from anyone else's.
Yeah.
So Mark was like, why don't we start something together? Why don't we put out some albums and music and try to get something together that we can then push out there that can kind of be accepted on both sides.
Yeah.
Obviously it helped greatly that Mark is a white man in Punjabi music.
Yeah.
So, and he understands Punjabi. He's the culture. There's no.
How does he understand it so well?
He's been around Asian people for his whole life.
Yeah.
So there's again, you look past that, he will speak to you in Punjabi. He will talk. Wow. He will have those conversations.
He knows.
Right. Yeah. So those conversations where like these Indian people thought that they could be under their breath saying something about him. He knew what he was saying. You can't get around it. But so we kind of sat on some names that we had. I think they're probably terrible, to tell you the truth. I think back then we weren't coming out with great names.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think it just came to me once, and I said to D, why don't we just call ourselves Panjabi Hit Squad? And I think D was like, actually, that's brilliant. How else do you honor a person that you looked up to greatly, but 100%. Also have a name that is actually quite cool and can kind of fit in with what's going on?
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely. And I think that's like such a great story to like share and know, because there's such a deeper meaning to it than what people might initially think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for us it came out of grief, because I was 16, we just lost a friend.
Yeah.
And then we're all of a sudden now in a studio, no idea how to make music.
Yeah.
Being told got to make music. You
got to make some music.
You got to make some music.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you're calling in favors, figuring out how to play keyboards, and like all of this stuff happened. You know, I wasn't there on a keyboard when I was young. You know, I can show you what I can do in turntables, but keyboard skills, that was a bit of a situation for me.
Yeah.
You know, so we had to learn this.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess we applied what we learned from DJing to that, which is kind of where the sound kind of took off.
So you were DJing at like 16?
I was DJing younger than that.
Like from what age?
Yeah, like I remember like my first house parties were like maybe 10, 11.
Shut up.
Yeah.
That is so sick.
But then of course, you know, that's kind of on the one end of it, but then also you have to understand that there's the biggest thing in Asian culture are weddings.
So true.
So,
so
you know,
true.
and Punjabi weddings, there's a party on every single day.
Oh my God, it goes off.
Right. So, you know, with that, it was, you know, learning that side of things and everything, like it all just kind of fit in together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, that's kind of how the Panjabi Hit Squad came about. And, you know, we kind of took that and just kind of took it to where it kind of needed to be. We wanted it to be mainstream. You know, we wanted it to be that you had a name that was easily identifiable from anything else that was out there, and that, you know, people of all sides of the world can get.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of like you two, like you and D, like working as a team, do you like have a kind of setup going, like who does what? Do you ever clash? Like how do you make decisions about things?
I think what we always do is we kind of structure it in a kind of a way maybe like a normal company would be structured. You know, what is good for the brand? You know, what happens for the brand? What, you know, where is that gonna get placed? D and I will sit there and think about ideas. You know, it'll be in a studio, it'll be an idea about this, it'll be an event, you know, all these different things. You know, we do clash because we know we want to always make something great or make sure something happens that's great. So, and I guess that's kind of been maybe our key to our success has been that, you know, is that we're not afraid to try something new, and also we understand that it's not just me, it's us.
Yeah.
And I guess again, same thing. It's the brand that matters the most. You know.
And there's something about like having like someone that you can, you know, you can trust, and that they bounce off you really, really well. They've got your back. Like one of my best friends, Evie, big up Evie. Me and her started doing podcasts together, and that was my first experience of radio, because we started doing some radio together. And honestly, just the energy, like whenever we still do bits of radio now, and the energy is just so good. And yes, like sometimes you have differing opinions about things. I do like, you know, certain things. She does certain things like within the team and that kind of thing. But we're both on the same page, and you know, the energy there is just something else.
I think it's important to have that. It's important to find somebody in a friendship, especially in a business arrangement, that you can have that with, that you have that instant, let me bounce an idea. And then, you know, it's a yes or a no, or another idea will come back.
Yes,
and
exactly.
that keeps you sharp. So yeah, with D and I, you know, seeing each other every single day, discussed everything you can ever imagine. You know, we like the same music, all of these things that we're into. So, you know, when it comes to that kind of stuff, I think it's really, really important that, you know, that you have that somebody there that can kind of do that.
100%.
And again, same thing like what we said at the start was, you know, you have to respect opinion.
Definitely.
You know, I mean, we'll get into the story about Hi in a little while, but, you know, Hi might not have even happened.
Yeah.
You know, our garage version was maybe not going to be there.
Oh my God, no.
You know,
absolutely not.
You know, and we had to fight for that. So it is, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, I think that's what it is. Having a good teammate is always a part.
It's so important. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about your sound now, because like I'm obsessed with your sound. I think it's so epic.
Thank you.
Like, and it was funny because I remember, this is so cringy, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. I remember when I was like obsessively sharing like hi and like people playing it when I was out and stuff. And my mate Angus, he's a DJ, and he's the one that taught me kind of like how to DJ and stuff like that. And I was like, play this when you're out. And then I think like one time, like a few times you guys like liked it and reposted it, and then eventually started following me, and I texted him, I was like, Panjabi Hit Squad's following me. He was like, yeah, because you stalk them.
No, it's absolutely not that at all. You know, firstly, I don't believe that following someone on Instagram doesn't mean much.
No.
Following somebody that you like and kind of can relate to. I think that's what it is. I think that's the main thing I like about you, is that, you know, podcasts and obviously connecting with the identity, and on top of that doing the radio. It's kind of a lot of what we did. So you know, it's all of those things that I enjoy, because I look at it and go, I really hope that she's going to take it to where in your head you've got it going.
100%. I mean,
you know,
I
and
hope
again,
so.
like, as in, you know, if you were to ever say, I need help with this, happily we'll give you the links for that. So, you know,
Well, no, I appreciate that, and I just I just want to share that anecdote, because I was just like, honestly, it's so funny. I was just so buzzing about the whole thing, and then I was like, yes, they're gonna come on the podcast.
Oh yeah.
And also, right, so your system mix.
Yeah.
I literally shared that with so many people because it just was so good.
Yeah.
And I listened to it like millions of times, but one of my favorite times listening to it was I was in the car with this guy that I was dating in the summer, and we go on like late night drives. I enjoy doing that.
Okay,
and
enough.
He was like, "Oh, can I like play some tunes?" And I was like, "No." And I put on this.
Okay.
And he was just watching me. He was like, "You're nuts." And I was just like, going for it in the car. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
And obviously you've been played at you've been playing everywhere, and you're obviously on the radio.
Yeah.
But so many, you know, DJs, not only South Asian DJs like, you know, Young Sing, for example, but so many other DJs play your stuff. And what excited me a lot was 3 different friends, and I think I said this to you on the phone actually when we started chatting, 3 different friends that are not South Asian sent me hi on 3 different occasions, and I was like, this is like something. So before we go into playing that tune, I want to ask, like, how do you create a sound? And I know this is maybe like a really like cliche obvious question, but I am interested.
So I think for us it's been a case of, we didn't want to be in a box with just loads of the same sounds over and over again. We wanted to keep our sound open, but for some reason when we make a song, even though we would get an inspiration from various different places, it'll still sound like a Panjabi Hit Squad song. I never understood what a Panjabi Hit Squad sound was until somebody was like, it's just a feeling, like, you know, I can't explain it, you know. And I guess that's what kind of keeps it fresh at the same time as well, which is, you know, you don't know whether a song was produced 10 years ago or 10 months ago, you know. And I guess with that, that's probably coming from the DJing aspect of it more than anything else. So, you know, we kind of listen to the mixes that we do in the studios, or, you know, when we produce songs, and then once we've done that, we'll then mix that into like a very, very famous, whatever it might be. Like if we're producing a hip hop song, let's just say, I need it to mix perfectly into, let's just say, a Drake song, so that sonically it sounds similar. You know, the last thing you really want is your song to sound way out different. Right. So I think with that, that's kind of helped our sound. That's kind of what's given it all. But you know, I think that's kind of where it comes from. That's where the Hit Squad sound is. You know, that, you know, there's something about it. I can't even put my thing on it.
I get it. I get what you're saying, and I also think it's inspiration for people. Like, there's a guy at the moment called I don't know if you've heard of him, called AJ Wavy, and he's like, I think it was, I don't know which Drake song it was that was like really popping off that he mixed. And he initially was doing it because his cousin asked him to make a mix for him because she was doing a dance or something. And he's doing a lot of stuff like that as well. And I think that kind of sound, like where you have the East with the West kind of thing, like really, really slaps. But you guys, there's just something, I don't know what it is, and you don't even know what it is.
I don't even know what it is, you know, but I guess that's kind of kept it fresh for us.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
You know,
for sure.
there's no date on it, which is kind of where we get with Hi Hi. Where, you know, the song was made in 2002, came out in 2003, and now 20 years later, it's now being played again, like as if people have it's got released last week.
You know, and that's how it feels. It feels like you've just released it. Like it really does.
And you know, hats off to daytimers, and you know, everyone has been playing it again, you know, and giving it exposure again. You know, it's had exposure over the last 20 years, but I guess now, because it's getting played at festivals, you know, I guess it's only been a couple of years since Asians were allowed in festival on stages and all that kind of stuff, you know. And I'm glad that, you know, we have this new generation of South Asian DJs that are taking that and working with it.
Yeah.
So Priya, Gracie T, Young Singh, Jyoti, all these people are just, they're a part of the puzzle.
100%.
And they're a part of the journey, whether you see it or you don't see it. I have to give my hats off to all of them.
For sure.
There's too many to list.
There is. No. Yeah. So, well, on that note, then, as I said at the start of I didn't say this at the start of the podcast. I said it to everyone that was in the room before we even started recording. I'm just going to say it properly now. On every show, I always ask my guests to bring on 2 tracks. And it's especially good if it's musical guests, because they usually have their own tunes. So would you like to introduce the first track and tell us a little bit about it?
Shall I introduce it first or tell you about it first? That's what
I don't know.
Okay, let's play it first and then I can tell you.
Okay, we're going to play it first.
The first one is Hi Hi, Panjabi Hit Squad featuring Miss Scandalous. So there you go. That was Hi Hi. And again, it's one of those songs that has been life-changing for us.
Yeah.
It came off our second album, and, what ended up actually happening is that we did like a Desi mix to it with dolls and everything, and we wanted it for weddings because Hi Hi is like a Bollywood type of song and like a freestyle, and with that comes weddings, and we wanted something that you could play, to kind of keep the dance floors going at weddings and all that. And then when it came to it, we had another song on the album that then we couldn't get cleared. There was an issue with the writer, so we were one song down. So Mark and Dee said, why don't we just do a mix to Hi Hi or something?
Sure,
and we'd already been trialing out a garage version of that same song in the clubs anyway, and it was going off. So we already knew we were kind of onto something good there. So again, like, we got into the studio, put everything together. It didn't take too long to put together. But I guess the vocal was so great, so that it kind of just already started working. By the time we'd put the effects on and mixed it all down, it was already kind of a completed song. And I remember then I was, and also this is like 2003, where there is a decline of garage music.
Yeah.
This is like after So Solid and everything. And,
Yeah.
There was, people weren't really stepping up for garage music. So which is the reason why we had it as a track 8.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a track 1 or a track 2. It was quite low down on the list. And we wanted it to be like a filler song. But I was always, and I think, no, not just me, but Dee and Mark, we were always under the impression that it had something. So I was like, look, there's a female vocal on it. It'd be great if we get a female MC on it. Now, this is the one thing that, if anyone knows anything about Punjabi music, especially from like the 2000s or 90s, is that there was a very, very lack of representation within females within our music scene. There is some in India, but coming from the UK, there was very, very little. So I told Dee, you need to hunt for a female MC. So he's he's looking around, and we used to go to this shop called Metro Music in Southall to buy our records, and he went in there one day to go and buy some music, and he met Miss Candice that was there. And I'd already known Miss Candice from school anyway, but she wasn't Miss Candice at this moment in time.
Oh my God, you knew her at school?
Yeah, I knew her at school. So she was a couple of years younger than me. So I already knew her. And like, we live kind of close by. Yeah. So I knew her, and I know the family and everything. So it's all cool. But I didn't know she did rhymes, And by then I'm already Panjabi Hit Squad, so kind of, I'm already too busy to kind of start looking through a diary and thinking who's bits now. So Dee, went in there. She was working in there, and he was like, she said to Dee, like, I spit rhymes, and Dee's favorite line is, spit a rhyme for me right now. That's all it was. Outside the club, Dee would be like, spit a rhyme for me right now. That's just what it was. And then she did it, and then he was like, okay, cool. What are you doing tomorrow? And she's like, yeah, cool, I'm free. He's like, cool, come to the studio. So got in the studio, she did the lyrics, and that's when Miss Candice was born. Yeah. Her first song was Hi Hi.
And it's always the things is like that you don't expect are always like the ones that seem to like pop off or like work out best. Like imagine that track wasn't going to make it on the album. Imagine Dee didn't go into the shop that day or whatever. Like, I mean, everything's
the
like
story,
that,
the story matches too perfectly. Even to a point where we had released the album and we had already had 2 songs on there that were doing well. One song was featuring Mets and Tricks, which was Giovanni, and then we had another one on there which was an R&B song, which is Dil Dralia. Those 2 were kind of doing well on radio, and people were sharing that, and we were happy where that was going, and we were happy where the album was as well. It was actually only when we went to Watford to perform once, and the place was packed, and the DJ booth had like this glass casing around it.
Yeah.
And we're DJing, and then the one guy comes up and says, "Yo, play Hi Hi, play Hi Hi." I'm like, okay, cool. Bit weird because again, same thing. Hi Hi for us was the Desi version, which is catered more to weddings.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, play the garage version. Me and my friends want to hear it. So then, obviously you have this guy saying this to you like for 10, 15 minutes. You're like, oh God, let me just get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Right. We can kind of ride this wave out, D. Don't worry about it. We can play it. We played it and it went off.
Yeah.
And to a point where basically we were looking at each other confused, like, is there something that we've missed here? And then what ends up happening is that we've stopped the song, and then D's gone, okay, cool, I know what the fuck's going on here, but yo, who wants some CDs? Panjabi Hit Squad. So as he's like gone to give out some CDs, you've just seen like all these people come forward and they've shattered the glass all across.
Oh my God.
So now there's like shattered glass everywhere.
Oh no.
But everyone just keeps on going hi hi. They're singing the song.
Hi hi.
Right.
Yeah.
So now we're even more confused. Then we play the song, it goes off, pops off, but on the way back, it's like a silent car journey. We're like, what the hell just happened there? And then, we came to the conclusion that was it. That was the one.
Yeah.
And I guess from there, message boards were just like, yeah, the album's sick, but hi hi. Right. And then that just carried on.
Yeah.
And I think it just never stopped.
It's honestly, it is such a sick tune. And anyone listening to this podcast that's just heard it and not heard it before, like, it guaranteed on repeat. Like, everyone absolutely loves it. And it's so funny, like, whenever my friends play it, when like I go and watch them play, and I go with my other friends and it comes on, everyone looks at me and they're like, and I'm like, yeah,
it's become like the brown signal, isn't it? It's like
always,
this one's
the token brown girl. Everyone's like, yeah.
But I mean, we're happy because there have been songs throughout our time that have been played in both places. That you got obviously Beware the Boys, we did the Butch Kid, which again, same thing. You can play that in Asian and non-Asian raves. Yeah. And it fits in the same kind of thing with Hi Hi, where it can go out there.
It does, so, definitely. I agree with you.
And again, if the amount of people that are non-Asian that come up to us and go, yeah, Hi Hi. And again, it's easy to say, so I think it all just fits in,
for sure.
It's a blessing. That's all it's been for us.
And the last thing I want to sort of ask you in like the music realm, because I want to, before we finish, I want to touch on like radio as well, is how do you think as South Asians, especially in the music industry, we can make our sound more heard, and also to distinguish and be like, it's not just Bollywood, like, because I think people really do associate like South Asian sound with Bollywood. Maybe not so much now. It's less happening, but how can we do more to make our sound heard more?
I think that we're on the way to doing that.
Yeah.
There are some of the DJs we just mentioned, they're creating now soundscapes that people now can listen to that are not necessarily from an Asian background, and they now understand that there is, that's not Bollywood.
Yeah.
Also, you do get Bollywood songs that are great, that actually, that do work and do push the boundary and everything like that, but I guess it's just people that are in those positions that are making things happen, that in the same way that when we went to One Extra and we bought the sound that we thought worked, you're having now people do that at other radio stations, for DJ Mag, for Boiler Room.
Yeah.
I think all these things, are helping.
Yeah.
Might not be there just yet.
Yeah.
But it definitely is changing the conversation.
Yeah, and it's not going to happen overnight, is it? It's like slowly.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm glad it happened slowly, because I want it to be that this music scene's here for, you know, forever. Not, you know, I don't want it to be a bubble. Because,
not just like a style of like a whatever it is of the moment.
Yeah, but you know, like my favorite form of music was garage. That was kind of the era that I kind of grew up in. I was allowed to go out to garage raves. I love garage music. You know, kind of come through with hi, so that all kind of works. You know, so I definitely want it to be, but you know, I don't want it to be like that our sound dies out and then has to find its way back in again.
Yeah.
I want it to be that it's just there.
We are here to stay.
Right.
Oh, we are.
Yeah, of course.
We're absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you know, like, and I guess that's just what it is. You know, I want more people to have it, that, you know, they're doing amazing things, but they're also bringing the culture with it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So radio. You used to do One Extra. You said, you said at the start that you were literally jumping between One Extra and live gigs and Asian Network at one point. So you were at One Extra. Now you're at BBC Asian Network. You've got your show. It's Fridays and Saturdays, right? Yeah. And I was actually once in a really, really bad traffic jam, and I was listening to it. And I think it was like when you were doing, like, it was like specifically a Bhangra theme, not that long ago.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember. It was like something, I don't know. Anyway, it was great.
Okay.
But how did you get into radio? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that will probably listen to this that will be like, okay, how did they do it? I want to do it. I mean, I'm there at the moment. I'm trying. I'm on my way there, but I still am not there yet.
So, had zero experience. Didn't come from a radio background whatsoever. So now when I meet people that come from that background who are passionate about radio, I really, really respect them. Yeah. But for me, Dee and Mark, we had this thing where Mark and Dee had the talk, I had the music on lock. So between the three of us, when we were going to One Extra,
sure,
that musical knowledge came together, and then we would put that on air.
Yeah.
And again, when it started, you know, it's a little bit rough around the edges.
Yeah.
But that's what they loved. What they also loved was the selection.
Oh, yeah.
Which was the main part of it.
Yeah.
What they were getting when they tried out other people, what they were finding is that everything started sounding a little bit Bollywood.
Yeah.
Now, with us, because we were in the clubs and we had been mixing up records, hip hop records with Bhangra music and, you know, that kind of hybrid, when we were playing it, it just sounded more of what where One Extra was.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of what it stood for and where it was. And that's kind of where it gravitated to, you know. And it was only like further on in our One Extra days that we then started to become more broadcasters.
Yeah.
So, you know, we understood that, you know, it's not only just about playing the music, it's also about telling people the history behind it or the stories behind it or something that associates with it. Now it's even easier because, you know, if you pick up a song and you play it on air, you can go to that person's Instagram page and see that he or she is doing this or doing that. And, you know, so there's a lot more there. But I think that's kind of where we came from. You know, I know a lot of the other DJs and stuff came from pirate radio and all that kind of stuff. And Mark did do some radio as well. But, you know, it was nothing on that level. And, you know, we were, again, I think we were just blessed to be in a position. I think we just caught it at the right time. Yeah. You know,
that is such a thing though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not only about that. It's also about the team that were around, because the team of Ray Paul, Wilbur, all these people, Andy Parfit, that believed in us and the music, and they weren't just trying to you know, make quick buck out of it, or you know, they weren't just trying to, you know, understand this. We were on once a month at 3:00 in the morning. That lasted for 3 months. Yeah. Before they were like, no, these guys need a weekday. A weekly show. Yeah. So then we moved weekly. So then we're on a Monday night, and it's when we were on Monday night that it just blew up completely. Yeah. And again, it was because the team were around us. You know, you had the manager of the station that was championing our music more than anyone else I've ever seen. Yeah. You know, and he's not Asian. And, you know, he's saying to us, listen, why are you not putting that song on the playlist? Go in the meeting, go there and tell them and show them that song is just as good as this song. Yeah. You know.
Rate that.
Right.
And he's not even South Asian.
No. You know, and, you know, he still, you know, manages us to today and is still a friend today, and same mindset. Yeah. You know, so that's kind of where it is with that. But I think that I guess we had a vision in our mind with what we wanted to do with the radio.
Yeah.
And we kind of stuck to that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we still stick with.
I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what made you like as successful you are today, but not even successful, just like the talent is just like there. And that's because you've stuck to your guns with the sound that you're not really sure what the sound is.
Yeah, I still don't know what the sound is, but
this may be slightly controversial, and I'm not going to say the name of this person, but I had someone on my podcast who used to present on Asian Network, and he was like, oh, they said I wasn't Asian enough to be on Asian Network. And that's something I've kind of thought about and thought that's a bit weird, because I feel like Asian Network, like yes, it is Asian Network, but it seems very, very palatable to non-South Asians, especially like you guys, like, and so many non-South Asians love your sound. But I don't know, like, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think that what it is that, like everything, it's always constantly evolving, and I guess where the plan is now for Asian Network is to try and reconnect with those people who now that at one time their audience thought they weren't Asian enough for it.
Sure.
So, you know, and I guess you're competing now with Spotify, YouTube, all these things, you know. So I guess it's in a place where it's getting there.
Yeah.
The problem is that trying to convince the people that have been there from day one, not only, you know, within the BBC, but also listeners as well.
Yeah.
You know, trying to explain to them that there is a need for us to have a conversation about, or to have a show that focuses on this, you know, where they're always used to, I mean, you know, at the moment there's a show in there about money.
Yeah.
You know, funniest thing ever, Asians love money.
They love making money.
You know, but the show is about being entrepreneurial, and I guess that's really important.
Very.
Right. But then if you speak to somebody who's maybe been listening to the Asian Network for 30 years and has always listened to Bhangra music every single day, like, they will not understand that. Why is there a need for that show?
Yeah.
But there is a need for it. So this is what it is. It's now in a transition phase where, you know, where it might not be suited to everyone, but it's now doing better than right.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And you can see that within the BBC as well, because they had like, I think I Had a Dream, had a residency for about a month on there. So they're trying to, it's almost like the two are kind of meshing together in a way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's, you know, they haven't had Asian presenters on Radio 1 since Bobby and Nahal. So, you know, and to have, you know, their residency opening up to DJs and kind of, again, same thing. They're not playing Bhangra.
No.
You know, and I would hate it if, you know, I had all of a sudden started to play Bhangra bangers
non-stop.
I'd be like,
what are you doing?
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've seen him playing a rave.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's the experience, and I think that's the main thing, that, you know, they stay true to what they're doing. You know?
Yeah, definitely. And
I guess it comes back to your same question: where are you from?
Yeah.
You know, when you look at someone brown, you don't automatically think of chicken tikka masala and Bhangra music or Bollywood music.
No.
You want it to be that they can be anyone, love anything, love rock music,
and who they are as well.
Right.
And I think Rohan Racket posted this on his story a few weeks ago, because he's been on my podcast as well. Yeah. And he basically said something like, it's amazing when people like will take videos of me when I'm playing and stuff like that, but it seems to be the case that people are only filming when I play South Asian stuff. I play other stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what we had. So, yeah, we're Panjabi Hit Squad, but, you know, at some point we were playing hip hop and R&B songs at, you know, biggest nights around. You know, and then having Punjabi songs mixed in with that.
Yeah, exactly.
And making sure that, you know, and there wasn't like a detachment. Like, people weren't like stopping on the dance floor going, oh, what's this? You know, they were just, because it was the vibe.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess that's now, if you look at that more than anything else, it's the vibe.
It's a vibe. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
That's what it's going to keep them going with.
So the last song that you're going to bring, can you introduce that, and then you could tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, so this song is by, it's from the film Jyoti, and it's To Resham Lagta Hai, and which was famously sampled by Truth Hurts on Addictive.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, everyone knows about the lawsuit and everything, but it was this record actually that we started off our One Extra show with. So it's the first song that we ever played when we started our radio journey.
Oh wow, that's nostalgic.
Not only that, but also we'd find out that we got a One Extra show. The same week, they said, okay, not only have you just got a One Extra show, but your first One Extra show is not only going to go on One Extra, it's going to go on Radio 1 as well.
Wow,
so
sick.
At this point, we're like, okay, cool, we've got to come with some vibes. So that's the first song that we play. Everyone's now what is it? This is that Truth Hurts song. So people didn't really understand that was a sample.
Yeah.
People thought that it was a girl singing. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So once they started to understand that we were doing what hip hop has been doing for many years, that's when the doors opened.
Yeah.
That's when it started to pop off. So this song for us always comes through because it always reminds me, Andy as well, and Mark, about a time when we started our first radio journey, because it was the first song that we ever played. And I remember that we were in like, we did a gig in Manchester, and we'd all stopped off in like a travel lodge to sleep, and we stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning. And then, you know, it was the first song you heard, and you know, just to hear yourself be on national radio,
yeah,
you know, because it was pre-recorded back then, was just amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, well, let's play it then.
That's it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so
for
much
coming on the podcast. Before we finish, I have a question which is a bit weird, but like my friend came up with this idea. She was like, why don't you do this on the end of each podcast?
Yeah.
Which is, the question is a confession about yourself, which people wouldn't expect because you're South Asian. So for example, to just ease you into it, mine is, I'm now 28 and I only made a curry for the first time like towards the end of my being 27. Okay. So like maybe in like I'm an August baby, so like maybe like July, which is embarrassing.
Well, not really.
It's kind of embarrassing.
I think people get a bad rep, you know. Again, same thing. You know, just because you're Asian doesn't mean you can just
make curry.
It's okay.
So true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, my main confession is that that my favorite food is beans on toast. Really, that is like the most. And you know what? I do the Asian thing. I do put masala on it and and chilies and everything like that. And that's the main one.
Does it give you good bowel movements?
I hope so, because there'll be a lot of beans left in me for that. So yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Rav, for coming on. Shame that we couldn't have D on as well.
Hopefully next time we can get him separately and he can give you the answers as well.
Yeah, completely the same answers.
Same answers, yeah.
But it's been a pleasure, and I can't wait for everyone to listen to this. Thank you for being on South Asian Overground.